The Thwaites Glacier. Once just another mysterious part of an unknown continent, it is now the topic of global conversations. Research has found that this particularly unstable glacier in western Antarctica is thinning every year, with the potential to raise sea levels by 65 centimeters if it were to melt entirely. The loss of the Thwaites Glacier could set off a chain reaction of melting all across the western Antarctic ice sheet, raising global sea levels by a catastrophic 3 meters and earning it the title of the Doomsday Glacier. But how much of this melting is still avoidable, and what regions are past the point of no return? Welcome back to another episode of Tipping Points. The Western Antarctic Ice Sheet, or WAIS, consists of 6 main glaciers on the western edge of the continent. These are the Kohler Glacier, Smith Glacier, Pope Glacier, Haynes Glacier, Pine Island Glacier, and the largest Thwaites Glacier, all draining into the Amundsen Sea. As average ocean temperatures rise, so too does the water in the sea, speeding up the melting of glaciers in the WAIS. The way this works has to do with the way glaciers behave. Even though glaciers are frozen solid, they creep very slowly under their own weight. This forms ice sheets on land that eventually flow downhill, in this case over the ocean. This forms what is known as an ice shelf, and it acts as a buttress, holding the ice on the land from easily slipping into the ocean too. In a balanced, steady-state climate, the glacier will accumulate ice from snowfall at the same rate it loses ice that melts into the ocean. However, this is not what has been observed in Antarctica. Studies have found that the WAIS has been constantly losing mass on the scale of hundreds of billions of tons a year, revealing that it has entered a state of collapse. And the Thwaites Glacier is right at the front line. The reason why the Thwaites Glacier is of such concern to scientists has to do with the geography of its ice shelf, specifically its grounding line. The grounding line is the part of the ice shelf that touches the bedrock below it, holding it more or less in place. In the case of the Thwaites Glacier, this grounding line sits on bedrock that slopes down towards the center of Antarctica. As the shelf melts more, this pushes the grounding line back further and further, eventually to a point where the bedrock starts to fall away. This allows warmer ocean water to pool up under the ice shelf, creating the positive feedback loop we know as a tipping point. The ice shelf melting allows more seawater to stay under the ice, causing it to melt faster, while letting more of the ice sheet above it slip into the ocean. This is bad news for sea levels, as all the ice that used to be above land melts its way into the ocean, flooding low-lying cities and permanently redrawing coastlines around the world. The real question is, how close are we to hitting this tipping point? Or have we already crossed it? The unfortunate reality is that many scientists believe we may be just on the edge of the tipping point of these glaciers. Some estimates say that the full collapse of the WAIS would be triggered by an average warming of around 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. As of right now, humanity has warmed the planet by about 1 degree Celsius, with more warming to come, putting the tipping point dangerously close to our present-day situation. However, this does not mean that we will see the western Antarctic ice sheet melt entirely in the next few years, or even our lifetimes. Glaciers move and melt at relatively slow speeds, with scientists predicting it could take hundreds of years, even at our current warming trends, to melt the WAIS entirely. Also, a warmer ocean will in turn lead to more evaporation around Antarctica, leading to more snowfall over the continent. This will replenish more glacier ice as it melts, potentially slowing down but not reversing the overall loss of the WAIS. That being said, we should not wait around for 100 years to see if this is true or not. Things may already be set in motion that cannot be undone for millennia due to our current levels of warming. To keep the western Antarctic ice sheet from melting into the ocean, we must take action today to stabilize the global climate to keep the system from crossing its tipping point. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Comment your thoughts on the video or even suggest a topic you'd like to see in a future episode. As always, the sources are linked down in the description. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, and share to support Planet Zero. I'll see you next time.